All right, on to plan D. Thought about this overnight, and I think this will work. Well, now that we finally got that done, we can move on to the front wheel. That's what's happening on this episode of Featherstone Bicycles. Before we get on to the front wheel, we've gone ahead and cleaned up the kickstand parts a little bit, and we're just going to hit them up on the wire wheel. I may actually run this pin around the wire wheel a little bit, possibly just touch it to the grinder a little bit, just to make it a little bit easier to get in and out of the hole in the kickstand that we had so much trouble getting it out of. Unfortunately, I thought I was filming when I was cleaning the actual kickstand on the wire wheel, but I wasn't. Anyway, I got all the parts clean and nice and shiny, and put the sub-assembly on the kickstand back together. So now that that is all done, we can get going on the front wheel, which is the last part we have to do. Start by putting a little blaster on some parts here, just to make things a little bit easier. And of course, letting the air out will be helpful. wheel all disassembled, we'll start cleaning. I've got the axle components soaking in some solvent and just start to clean this up a little bit. The hub, before I get it on the wire wheel, get some of that grease off. These spokes are particularly dirty and grimy, so I'm going to rub a little steel wool over them, maybe some soaked in some solvent or simple green, just to get some of that off before I hit it with the wire wheel. Otherwise, it doesn't really get the spokes as clean as you'd like. Let that sit in there for a while. And it's a little bent. So I mentioned that the front wheel was missing 2 spokes, and I picked up, it's kind of hard to measure the spokes while they're in the wheel. And the bike shop I picked it up from locally, we tried to do the best we could to measure them, and I got 2 spokes here that are a little bit longer, and 2 spokes here that were a little bit shorter than those, than the amount that we measured. Unfortunately, this scale from Park Tool spoke length gauge also measures your ball bearing size, and it's in either centimeters or inches, so it's a pretty handy tool. The longer ones, you put the spoke in this slot here, and measuring it in inches, it came out to be 11 1/8. Make sure I can see that there. The shorter ones come out to be, nope, excuse me, that's the one off the bike. The shorter ones came out to be just under 11. The ones off the bike are about 11 1/16. So they're actually in between. The spoke on the wheel is in between this size and that size. My fear is that if I use these, I won't be able to get a good enough grip from the spoke nipples. And if I use these, the longer ones, they'll be too long and they'll poke through the inner tube. So I'm going to have to take this one back to the bike shop tomorrow and see if we can get a match for 2 of these. The last thing I want to do on this episode is get the rim and the tire cleaned up so that I can let them dry at least overnight. And then on the next episode, which will be the last episode before the final assembly, we'll be able to clean the spokes, clean the axle components, and then put it all back together, true it up. So if you remember last time for the rear wheel, I used my drill with this wire brush on it, and it worked out really well. Saved a lot of pressure of my hand up on my wrist with that steel wool. I still will use the steel wool lightly at the end just to get final touch up, I should say, but this works really well. on the tire came out very nicely. That rim looks 1,000% better than it did when I took it off the bike. Well, the rim and the tire are hanging up to dry, so that's going to do it for this episode. Next week, we'll clean the spokes and the axle, put it all back together, get it on the truing stand, and then that will be the last episode before the finale, where we put the whole bike back together. Remember that you yourself can make a huge difference, so check out the link in the description for An Army of Normal Folks. It's a great podcast. They're doing great work, and I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope to see you next week on Featherstone Bicycles.